And now I'm pleased to introduce today's first demo with Strategy.AI, practical AI solutions for real business impact. And here to guide you through the first demo today, we have Andrew Leong-Fern, founder and CEO of Strategy.AI, and we have Deb and Scoot from Strategy.AI here to help answer questions in the chat. So say hello to Deb and Scoot, and I am going to pass it over to Andrew to kick off our demo day.
Great. Thank you, Alexandria. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. It's great to be with you. And let me kind of just share my screen so we can get started. Okay, so I've got a few slides just to tell you about Strategy.AI, and then we'll get right into the demo. Let's see here. So one of the first things I wanted people to understand, because we have probably a wide variety of understanding related to AI, we kind of look at AI platforms in two categories. One is open. So most of you are familiar with ChatGPT. When you interact typically with ChatGPT, your data is going to be used to train AI. The questions you submit are going to be typically used by AI. And then the answers are coming from the internet. So sometimes that's why sometimes you'll get incorrect information, or you'll get hallucinations, or you'll get bias built into the answers in an open system. For us, the system that we use is what's called a closed system. So the data in questions are secure and private only to you. Nobody else will have access to them. The training of AI will not use your data at all. And you decide really where the answers come from. Typically in a closed system, most of the answers will come from your information. Okay, so a little bit about us. We basically look at AI not as the main component, the main deliverable. Technology, the AI is always going to continue to evolve and change. But for us, one of the most important things is, can we bring everybody in the workforce along? So we integrate a lot of the different change management tools and techniques to help ensure that people are brought along the AI journey. You're going to see that with our philosophy, it's really more about getting everybody engaged. We see a lot of companies trying to find the perfect sort of AI solution, but really what they need to do is sort of segment their own population and take a look at who are sort of novice users, intermediate and advanced, and provide solutions for everybody so that effective today, everybody can start their own journey. And as they evolve, they'll continue to become more productive and efficient with AI. With that in mind, in terms of trying to get everybody engaged, our pricing model is a little bit different than most. So for us, we do not have per user fees. You can have unlimited number of users. We typically charge based on usage. And so when we compare what we do versus, for example, Microsoft Copilot, you'll save well over 50% of whatever you're going to invest. And that's primarily because, again, when you look at the segment of your users, you're going to have a small number, 5 or 10% of power users. And on the other end, you're going to have 60 or 70% of folks that are not going to use AI all that often. And in between, you're probably going to have some folks that are pretty heavily dependent upon some of the Microsoft Copilot features. But for us, one of the things we want to do is make sure that we don't put a stumbling block in front of organizations, because we don't want pricing to be the issue that prevents everybody in the organization from being able to use AI. Okay, so when we think about solutions, we think about kind of where people are starting from. So in your organization, you may have novices, right? And so today I'm going to demonstrate a couple of things related to knowledge search and learning in context. The users in these situations don't have to become AI experts in any fashion. They're just going to be presented with a tool and they'll use it to complete the tasks that they've got, and they'll come back and continuously to reuse those tools. Then you've got sort of this intermediate category of how AI can be used. So an example I'm going to demonstrate for you today is task automation, but there's lots of others, including customer sales and service and many others. And then, of course, there are some advanced use cases. We won't get into those today, but specifically, we have mentors that can be implemented for individual contributors all the way up to executives. You've also got a lot more of advanced analytical and organizational alignment capabilities to help drive change through the organization. Okay. By the way, I did want to mention, if some of you are novices, you can actually go to our website, go to strategy.ai. In the upper right, you'll see boot camps. If you click on boot camps, you'll see that we offer 2 types of boot camps. We basically offer sort of a variety, anybody can join. And in those boot camps, we'll have anywhere from 2 to 20 people per session. There's a variety of topics you can pick from. And then there are also team boot camps. So we often come across organizations and teams specifically where they know they need to do something about AI, or like, oh, well, we've got an AI council and we know that we're allowed to kind of do things, but we don't know where to get started, we run a free team boot camp where we'll work with you to identify some specific starting point places for your team. And we'll work with you beforehand to make sure that we design that session properly so you can get the most out of it. The other thing that we have upcoming is a free 8-week course that you're welcome to sign up for, and it'll cover some of the basic topics specifically for talent management. So you're welcome to sign up for that. Again, it's at Strategy.AI boot camps. And maybe in the chat, I think we probably shared that link with you as well. Okay, so let me get to the demo itself. Okay, I'll just switch over. This is our platform, Strategy.AI. We have a number of different products on the left. The one that I'm involved right now is chat. And what I've done is I've just simply uploaded documents from OSHA and EPA. So if you're familiar with OSHA, Occupational Safety Health, as well as EPA, all we're going to do is we're going to ask questions. We're going to enter chat. Again, this is for some of you who may be novices. I want you to understand sort of how things are done in a closed system. When I ask a question, what it's going to do, what AI is going to do is it's going to look only at the files that are uploaded, and it's going to basically generate a response to it. Because there's been so much news related to sort of where did the answers come from, hallucinations and bias, one of the things that we also do is, in addition to providing you, of course, with an answer, what we do over here on the right-hand side is we provide you with the citation or the chunks of data that were used to produce this result. And so one of the change management things that we believe in is providing transparency and visibility into the sources of information. You can expand this to see more of it. You can actually click on this link. It'll download this file to your desktop so you can read it. And if you click on comment on source, it'll actually take you into a situation where you can actually provide a question. Because many times when people are here, they're looking at this answer. They're not really sure about it. They come here, they'll delve into it, and they'll take a look at the source. But what we believe is that if you can actually get to a comment on source, it'll actually be able to give you a platform where you can give feedback to that exact page of where this piece of data comes from. Oh, hasn't come back yet. Okay, so let me ask another question. One of the things that for people who are not as familiar with, again, ChatGPT, one of the things that you want to do is provide additional context. So I could sit there and say, I work with flammable materials. What else should I know? Okay. So if you use ChatGPT, again, I'm only going to spend another minute on this type of thing. But basically, again, the answers that are being generated here are only coming from the files that you've uploaded. Okay. Now, as it relates to novice users, they're not necessarily going to use this platform. What you would normally do is so this is an example of a chatbot. It's on one of our customers' websites. But basically, if you have Workday, Salesforce, an internal intranet, anything like that, SharePoint, you would basically put this little chatbot wherever employees work. So you can have a variety of different topics and content that you've uploaded, and I'll show you examples of that. But basically, you'll want to place a chatbot, an AI-powered chatbot, where they normally go to find answers, because then they'll be able to interact with AI, and they'll just use their natural conversation to interact with AI, and they'll find their answers. We also have what we call a widget. It's a wider version of interaction. We've got this in a SharePoint site right now, but you can place this again in any Workday, LMS page, intranet page, and so forth, because when you want to bring special attention to it, you'll just make it this large and put it right in their way where they normally go to work. So again, for novices, we're not trying to educate them specifically about AI. We're actually just giving them opportunities to interact with AI to find answers to questions they want. And they just happen to come across in normal conversational tone. They'll start to learn through their interactions how to ask questions. We'll also provide you, if you want, prompt engineering classes. So there are things that we will provide to you that you can provide to people so that they can improve upon their interactions with AI. I'm not necessarily going to spend a lot of time on that. You can certainly join one of our boot camps and we can help show you how to do that. But at a high level, I just want to give you a flavor for this first bit of a demo in terms of how to think about how do you quickly enable a larger organization to interact with AI? Because, for example, some of our clients typically have, a lot of the workforce that's in the field. And so they're not at a desktop. They're not used to working at a desk and having all these kinds of online resources. So whether it's in this format or it's in a simple chat bot, it makes it really easy for people to begin to learn about AI by simply just interacting with it. Okay. The next thing I want to show you is, I'll come back here. Let's see if this is loaded. Yeah. So again, this is command on source. The reason why we have this, you would typically not use this often, but what you would do is, again, this took me to the exact page where the source was used to generate the response. So this is the source that was used to generate the response. What we'll do is we'll basically just add a little pin here, and I can leave a comment for the person who owns this. So one of the most important things to understand about AI is it's garbage in, garbage out. So if you have bad data, bad information, or old, more typically, we want to give you a way to talk to the folks that have the data. So, right. So what'll happen is I'll leave a comment here, and then back here on the dashboard, the person who owns this file will get a notification. So because it's me marking it, but typically there'll be a red dot here, and there'll be a notification indicating that there's some unseen comment that somebody else in the organization has made to let me know. So again, the most important thing is not just the interaction, it's not just the technology, it's that can we build confidence in the tool, in the use of AI? So again, we're going to give you the answer, we're going to give you the source, we're going to let you actually download the full document itself, or if you want to leave a comment specifically for the person, you can do that. One of the other things that you'll see with AI is if you ask a question in a language, you'll be able to get a response, typically back in that same language. In this way, you don't have to upload lots of data. Again, I have all the information uploaded in English about OSHA and EPA, and this is what it'll do. It will generate this response in the language that the person is providing it. So all of a sudden, for a talent management organization or an L&D organization, you can make a lot of content, a lot of information available to your team in all kinds of languages that you normally wouldn't have before. So it can supplement whatever existing programs you have, but as well, it can actually serve as a way to convey new information to people as they go through it. Okay. The next demo I want to show you is many times people are receiving here. I'll take this one here with understanding HR benefits. What we've essentially done, this product is called Sidebar. What we've done essentially is created a PowerPoint-like experience. So imagine you're a training person, you send out training decks to lots of people to get trained on maintenance, security, safety, supply chain, whatever the topics may be. And so people often get these decks and they may not necessarily know all the terminology. They may not know your business because of maybe years of service, the new role they've entered into. For whatever reason, they may have questions. And so what we've done here is on the right-hand side, we've basically added an AI chatbot, right? So does uh, what does deductible mean, right? So now what we're doing is we're creating an interactive experience using this, not just this data, but we've actually connected this to a workspace, to a data that has lots of other data that if you want. So what we're trying to do here is now create a personalized learning experience for the person who's on the receiving end of any presentation. Our belief is that by doing that, people will more accurately understand the information. Again, this is one about it's a health benefit plan, but you can imagine if this was a presentation about safety or about Six Sigma or any topic. What you'll do is you'll again just simply upload a file. You can, if you want, connect it to a workspace, and then the answers that are being generated are all controlled by you. So again, what you're going to see is a lot higher interactivity. And the other nice thing about this process is when you come back to the workspace that is connected to, I'll just show it here, you can actually see all of the questions that were asked. So as a trainer, as an L&D person, one of the things I'm curious about is as I'm giving training, whether I send out decks or it's a live in-person or a virtual session, what is it that people have questions about? And what Sidebar does is it gives you the ability to have visibility into what people are thinking about as they're going through the questions. whether it's in the actual chat experience, whether it's through here, or through the sidebar event, you'll be able to understand kind of where people are coming from and what they're thinking about. Okay. So that's sort of the second broad example for novices in terms of just giving people an opportunity to interact with it. Again, when you're in this situation, you're not trying to educate people about um, AI. You're just giving them a vehicle that they can interact and ask questions. And that this interaction, as they continue to use it more and more, it'll begin to change the way that they understand how to use AI. And again, if you can supplement this with some of our training modules or other resources we'll provide you, it'll advance them through their learning course, and then they'll be able to be prepared to kind of jump into sort of the immediate use cases. So I'm going to show you one of the more advanced use cases or intermediate use cases. Actually, I should show you the data first. So this is a little bit complex, but I'll walk you through it. So imagine having access to a lot of I'm in the HR department, let's say, and we've got different team members, and you've got job descriptions, right? So I've created a fictitious company and I've uploaded 4 job descriptions, okay? Normally, obviously, in a company, you'd have a lot more than that. I've also loaded a competency model. I've uploaded individual performance reviews. I've uploaded strategic priorities, competency-based courses. So basically, I've connected this to like an LMS. I've got product data, and I've got some data literacy files. What we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, for everybody in our company, if I could help them identify from where they are right now to where they want to get to, or where we as an organization need them to get to, what are the courses, classes, or work experiences that they need to have in order to progress through their careers? So this is just one example. I'm going to use this product called Assistance. And there's kind of a build mode. We won't spend much time on that. You can sign up for a boot camp if you really want to understand sort of the mechanics of how to think about how AI agents and assistants should be built. But I'll basically take you to simulate mode. So simulate mode will basically show you the different steps and what AI is going to do. So actually, I'll turn on the process too. So hi, I'm your AI mentor. We're here to help you coach your employees. You manage again, I'm going to role play, right? So you manage a wide range of employees. Select an employee from the list below. I'm going to pick customer care associate. Well, what do you want me to do? Well, help me identify this employee's competency gaps and recommend the classes they take. There are a number of other things we can do. What I'm actually showing you also, by the way, it took about 30 minutes to create. So only 30 minutes to create. And I'm showing you an example of a specific individual of AI crunching the data for a specific individual. But normally you would not go click, 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 click. All you would do is create the assistant and then just hit run, and it'll run it for as many employees as you want, basically in the background. So again, for us, this took 30 minutes to create. You'll want to probably spend a couple hours to validate the different steps. That's one of the reasons why we actually give you access to these steps from build mode here, step 4, to the actual simulate mode. We want you to get comfortable to make sure that if you can validate each step as you go through, you're going to have a high degree of confidence in the overall assistant. So that's part of also why I want to show you this. So again, what I've done is I basically asked AI, I said, go take the job title and go find the correct job grade and job level. The job grade is level 2, and the job level here is, the job grade is 2, and the job level is individual contributor. What we're now doing is list the appropriate competencies for this job level. So what it's doing is it's basically saying this person's a job level 2, an individual contributor, go find the competencies for this level. In this particular example, fictitious company, we've got a competency model for individual contributors, managers, and then for executives. Again, you would not go click, 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 but I'm going to show you this process again, just so that you understand what AI is doing. And then normally what you do is you compress the steps. You'd compress it and then just hit go, and it would just run in the background. Okay, so a special analytical process was not used. Certainly, here's the job description for the customer care associate. So what we did was we asked AI, go get the job description if one exists. Actually, I'll close this. That might be too noisy for you. Go get the job description. The reason why we're giving you the job description is, again, because while you're validating this assistant, You want visibility into every single step. So considering the job description, only prioritize the competencies. So imagine you've got thousands of employees and you want to help them identify how to get from where they are now in terms of performance to where they need to get to. When I'm first starting a job, if I'm given a set of competencies, I don't know where to start. And so what we've done here is we've had AI basically evaluate your job, your role, and prioritize the competencies for that role. Now what we're going to do is we're basically going to say, let's go get the performance review of this person. Let's say this person's been in the job for a year. We're going to go get this performance review. So again, I'm just showing this to you so that you can validate it. You're like, yep, this is the performance review for this individual. In this particular case, it's anonymized, but and then it's going to evaluate the performance review with the competency model. So imagine if you're trying to do this with thousands of employees, you don't have enough time in the month to be able to do this. But AI can basically evaluate this and make it happen for every single employee, within seconds. So what it's done is it's taken a look at the performance review, looked at the competency model, prioritized them, and it's basically identifying the emotional intelligence needs improvement or organizational adaptability needs improvement. Now what we're doing is we're basically saying, consider the role that this person plays, identify what classes they can take. Okay. So again, these are the areas, the competencies that need help, and then these are the classes. So we'll sync up with your LMS, or you can provide us with documents that'll basically link out. And in a very short period of time, you would basically run this for every employee. Again, you wouldn't go click, click, click. You just set up the assistant. You'd go switch between build and simulate mode. So the actual assistant will take you 30 minutes to build. You'll come in and go into simulate and you'll validate each step, which will probably take 1 to 2 hours. And then when you're good to go, you basically run this for every employee in your company. Again, you wouldn't go click, click, click. It would just run automatically. It would basically on the back end, it's up to you. We'll work with you to identify whether we create a little widget for this to be emailed to every manager. So one of the things we believe in is always keeping a human in the loop. So for us, we're not trying to create what you've heard, I'm sure, of AI agents where AI is going to go do a bunch of things and make decisions. For us, from a change management perspective, people aren't ready for that. So what we want to do is make sure that there's always a human in the loop. So this would take 30 minutes to run in the background. It'll produce it for every single employee. What we'd recommend typically is something like this would be forwarded to the manager of every individual contributor. Then the manager can take a look at the analysis. They can identify really what they agree with, or an area where they want them to focus, and they would basically share that information with the employee. Many times people in L&D get asked the question, like, what value are you offering? What value are you creating today? And so this is an example where you can take a task, you can automate it, and normally something like this would take you dozens of hours, right? Hundreds of hours. If you've got a very large organization, thousands of hours, you may not even be able to do it, right? But in this particular case, you can actually go crunch this information. You're going to validate each step. Then you're going to basically serve it up to the managers and demonstrate that, hey, here's a tool you can use. Here's additional information. Here's resources that you could use to help a manager mentor the employee. Again, we always want to keep a human in the loop in this process because the manager obviously has the closest relationship and understanding of how that individual is performing. Now, there's lots of other things that you can do. If you've got people in a team, for example, where you've got, some companies have like 10,000 call center reps. What you do is you'd have AI analyze the 10,000 call center reps and understand the different segments of success that leads from where they are now to where they go to, and then you cross-reference that segmentation analysis against this individual person's performance. So I'm just describing to you, and maybe I've gone too far, but I'm just describing to you an example of how you can relatively easily automate an AI task to help you generate value and demonstrate value to your customers. This is more of an advanced or intermediate sort of use case. So I don't want to scare you, but we do offer a number of boot camps that'll help you, whether you're novice, intermediate. Some of the advanced definitely take more hand-holding, so we can schedule one-on-ones with those. But I'll pause here and then we'll just kind of jump to questions and I'll stop sharing. We can go to questions.
Okay, cool. Well, we have a question about pricing first. Don mentioned, are these features fee-based?
So basically, there's two parts to usage in our platform. One is the number of workspaces you use. And let me share my screen. I'll point this back out. So, and I forgot to mention this to you earlier, but basically workspaces. So if you're at a Teams account, it's roughly $500 per month per workspace. And then it'll drop down to like 200 and some dollars if you purchase X number of workspaces. So it's there's volume discounts, but at a high level, we don't charge per user. We basically charge by usage. The number of workspaces you have, and then the amount of processing that's required to answer questions. Those are the two parts. When we work with you, we will actually set up what's called a proof of concept period. It'll last typically about 30 days. We'll work with you to set up your files, to run tests, and onboard your team members. You'll run it for a month, and at the end of the month, we'll give you an estimate of what the cost was. Because right now, people don't understand AI well enough to understand the costs. For sure, I guarantee you it'll be significantly less expensive than using anything like, for example, like Microsoft Copilot. If you've got a wide employee base, you'll save tons of money because really what we want to do is just get people in the using AI and sort of adapting their own mindset to understand how to use AI. So I hope that answers that question.
I'm going to jump to another one. Assuming we keep a human in the loop, is it possible to use automation to stagger emails to new hires with new resources as they're continuing their learning journey?
Yes. So we'll work with you to build a little widget on the back end to figure out the timing of when those emails will go out. So that's not a problem. That's easy.
Cool.
Yeah.
We have new ones coming in. This one's sort of specific to a region, New York. So I might jump over that one.
Okay.
Are you Fed ramped or moving towards that? I don't
FedRAMP,
know.
I'm not sure what that is.
I don't know what that means either. I'm sorry, Mary. But if you have, it's maybe something to do with regulations. I'm not sure. So if you clarify for us, maybe we can get back to your question. So someone asked about the difference between having a closed network and an open one, and we did answer it in the chat, but um, I'm going to scroll back to it just in case
Yeah.
anyone else has questions about closed AI source.
Yeah, I'll come back to that slide, see if it helps. I don't know if it'll jog the question. What was the question? What's the difference or?
Yes, sorry, I didn't. Yes. Why would I use a closed AI source versus an open AI source?
Oh, I see. The reason why you want to use a closed one is most companies, the answers you want, there's two groups of answers you want, right? You want to get ideas from potentially other resources, real-time data and other things. Yes, you would use ChatGPT for something like that. But most organizations actually want to find answers from within the organization. Like what you care about are the answers, like what's happening within the business. So um, in our platform, I think I'm still sharing, am I not? So in our platform, the way it would work typically is you'll have different departments, functions, projects will have their own workspace. They upload their own files to their workspace. And then when we have global chat, we have a very rigorous permissioning and authentication system so that when you ask a question in global chat, it'll pull answers from across your organization. It will not go to the internet unless we have a specific control for that. But in most of the cases, you're only going to want to pull information from within the organization because the information outside your organization is not validated, it's not verified. It hasn't gone through and made sure that it's actually usable or if it's the legal source. So for most companies, you'll want a closed system because you want to find answers from within your organization. It'll lower the silo walls and the permissioning mechanics that we have in place make sure that people only get the answers from sources they're allowed to or permission to access.
Cool. And we have some helpful folks in the chat who helped clarify what FedRAMP stands for, Federal
Oh,
Risk and Authorization Management Program. It's a set of criteria cloud service providers must meet to secure contracts with the US government. So that makes sense for folks who are working in government agencies who would need certifications
right.
to work on.
Yeah, so I apologize. We're not big into working with the federal government or haven't been so far. So open to it, but really haven't had that need.
Cool. Okay. That's great. So maybe there'll be a first time person in here. Any other questions I'm trying to scroll through that I haven't gotten to? Do you upload files or can you direct the AI to a source within the organization where all files are housed? Example, what if you had all your files already stored in Salesforce as knowledge
Yeah,
articles?
right. So we will write for those cases for third-party databases. We'll just sync up using an API. So it's sort of a technical handshake between our platform and a third party's platform, whether it's Salesforce or Workday or some LMS. We'll be able to pull that data in. The other thing I'll say is you can also sync with SharePoint. So if you have a lot of SharePoint information out there, you'll just sync with SharePoint, use this little feature, and any content you have in that SharePoint site will automatically be available to our platform. So you don't have to do double duty. You'll just manage the files that you have in SharePoint, and our platform and AI will have access to whatever's in that SharePoint site. But going back again to the original question, yes, we'll just have an API that'll connect into whatever data source that you have. Um, it's sort of straightforward. It'll just take some technical folks to kind of chat for a few days.
All righty. Well, we are hitting the half-hour mark. That was really fast and awesome. Amazing. Thank you, Andrew, for kicking off demo day for us this morning. We are going to take a quick 15-minute break and then we will come back together to see Ascendient Learning's demo, critical reskilling, AI workforce transformation. A huge thank you to Andrew and to Scoot and Deb who are helping us out in the chat. Thank you, Strategy AI, and I will see you all soon for our second demo. Thanks.
Thank you, everybody.